Back again. 68.
That's a good number.
What the hell?
What the hell?
It keeps going up one at a time. Imagine that.
It's amazing how that works, man.
Well, it's a good thing we can keep track because I have a hard time remembering these things.
So we got Mr. Rob Vigeant with us tonight. Welcome back to the show, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
So we were going to have Jed Johnson on this week, but his grandmother suddenly passed away, so best wishes out to him. And we've been trying to get Rob on for like a month, so finally we were able to get everybody together at one time, so here we are.
Mm-hmm. One of the regulars. I told Josh if it was up to me getting guests, it would be you and then Herman Stevens and then you. Because we don't have to plan.
Controversy.
Yeah, well, it's just easy because we're buddies, so you don't have to... So like, what was arm wrestling like when you started? All those kind of stock questions. You can just talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk shit.
Cut it loose.
Yeah.
So a lot of people sent questions in, Rob, for you. A bunch of people are curious about what's going on in your life and how your training's going.
Yeah, I mean, past couple months, I'd say since the turn of the new year, things have really taken a pivotal turn in my training outlook. Now that I have a new place, my own gym, training's been a lot more, it's been more commonplace and accessible. And I guess a big part of that was changing my mental too, kind of getting broken down towards the end of last year, making a decision to kind of redial in and having the facilities to do it. So I'd say from like January, February on, I've had a pretty good stretch in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, other than that, it's just family life and WAL every day.
So what's changed in your training specifically? Like, are you doing more of it, or did you?
A lot more. I didn't really have the privilege of having a training routine for a while because with my kids being young, I couldn't go to the gym, and my gym. We lived with foster kids and my in-laws, so it was kind of a sticky situation where I wouldn't work out for months at a clip, and it was hard for me to get to training groups. Now where I live probably about 20 minutes from a big training group in New Hampshire.
Nice.
And I can pretty much train at will, even too much sometimes where the way my house is laid out. So I've been able to do more in probably the past 6 months than I've been able to do in the last 5 years.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. When I was out there a month ago, we hooked up in New Hampshire, and I was your right always feels really good to me, but I was really impressed by the balance I felt in your right.
Yeah, it's been a long time. My rights for the past, I'd say, maybe 5 years, I've had injuries I've battled with my rotator cuff, and so I was always pulling to compensate, became more of a bicep puller, hand puller, this and that, but I think with training I've tightened up some of the areas that I've become really, I feel complete again. I don't feel really vulnerable. Whereas even last year I had some vulnerable angles, and I feel pretty solid now. I feel good.
So really just like the balance and the complete, feeling like you don't have any holes. That's just really from being healthy.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to just, for a long time, because of my rotator cuff, I was really scared to go sideways. So I would bicep drag people to death and try to hand them to death. But now I feel like I can get in there and just crank sideways if I have to or want to. I feel like I've got that torque and my shoulder will hold up. It took some time for it to get back. I probably should have had surgery on it, but I went the long route. So, I mean, I think having a training facility too where I could slowly work it and test it and, little bit here and there to build confidence too.
It's funny too sometimes when you get those injuries, like I don't know how you guys are, but when you get those injuries, sometimes you compensate so much and you don't realize until 6 months down the road how much you're compensating for them.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes it takes a video that you watch where you're like, wow, I don't even pull it. Like I'm not pulling the same way or how I think I'm pulling at all. I must be actually hurt here.
Right. Well, left-handed, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm in a sticky situation because my left, I thought I pulled more polished than my right when it was good. It just had a very specific directions. It was very easy to set up. And then when I heard it, I started pulling differently to compensate for it. Now that it's actually starting to feel strong again, I've got to almost relearn how to use it again because I've built bad habits in the compensation process. So I feel strong, but it still feels kind of wonky because I got used to pulling sloppy a little bit.
Right. You actually put yourself in the, quote unquote wrong positions because there's less pain there. And now there's no pain, so you're still pulling that goofy way.
Right.
Do you change your nutrition at all?
I'm trying to be a little bit smarter about a lot of things. I figure if
you look lean, that's why I ask.
Yeah, maybe I gotta go get a tighter shirt on or something. I'm floating between 200 and 195 right now. I'm lean. It's I don't think that's a bad thing for summer. I don't feel I've lost much on the musculature. I'll take measurements just to be curious if I'm whittling away. So musculature wise, I'm about where I usually am, but I'm just trying to figure out if I can whittle down some of the fat and make the cut process non-existent. And I'd like to roll in. I got a different idea on cutting than people. I'd like to roll in at 195 and just be happy about that. I'm not hot on sitting in saunas and stuff, and whether that's shooting myself in the foot or not, but everyone's got such different builds and stuff. There are 10 people that are 195 and they all have different body fat counts and musculatures. I don't stress about 5 pounds, but I'm trying to do the little things. I'm trying to be smarter with nutrition, trying to be smarter with the way I train, the way I sleep, the little things that add up to a 0.5% when you come into a tournament that, the end of an event could make those percentages that you blow away the competition or you're struggling for top 4. I'm trying to pay attention to those.
Yeah, It sounds like the biggest thing you changed is just consistency.
Yeah.
I mean, and really, that's everything.
Because that changes your confidence level too. When you roll into an event confident, as opposed to feeling untrained, second guessing yourself. When you grab people, you feel weird. So the mindsets, for me especially, the mind is a make or break thing.
Do you find when you're more confident and more consistent training and eating and all that kind of stuff, do you feel like you're maybe a little smoother throughout a tournament rather than the ups and downs of,
I call it like King Dick syndrome. It's like when I get to that, I'm probably one of the, if not the worst case of Jekyll and Hyde in the sport, depending on where my mental is. So if I'm feeling aggressive and prickish, I can usually run a lot smoother than when I'm I can get tied up with guys that I'm physically a lot stronger than and at a higher level than because I can be very meek and subdued.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, feeling on point plays to that aggressive headset. You're not really. I mean, that's my hopes is that this is all gonna, bear fruit in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've gotten some big wins, lefty, in the last couple of months compared to last year when you were, much more injured. So that's got to be pretty good for your confidence level going into the finals.
Yeah, I mean, Solaris, if I remember correctly, either put me on the B side or he put me out of the tournament in Vegas, and he beat me in Philly. But as I started making ground and things getting a little tighter, I mean, I still pulled him a little bit sloppy, but my arm was strong enough to hold up. So that for me was a good win. I was happy with that win, considering that the last 2 years he's at least been in the run for the hammer. He's been in the finals.
Yeah, he got second place last year, didn't he?
Yeah, and the year before too, he was in the finals with Storm. So I mean, he's always been in that running for the hammer. So for me, he's been a silver bullet the past 2 years. So I mean, yeah, it was a good win.
Yeah, and we talked about that match too when I was out there, and how you got in the strap and you had kind of a little revelation about how to pull against that bottom section of the strap. Yeah,
well, that was more the revelation for me. The aha moment was Storm Chelino. I literally, YouTubed a video on the break and kind of like took 3 like cliff notes of what to do and just tried to apply it. And then once I felt it, I said, oh, it kind of made sense.
Mhm.
Whereas it never, I always pulled from my hand. I always pulled like I did out of the strap. Maybe I just got, lucky to win a fairly good percentage in the strap. But I think I made it a lot harder than I had to once I felt what I felt.
Mm-hmm. So as the training, granite arms, I mean, that's got to be making a pretty significant difference, because I remember last year you were hosting trainings in your house, and there's usually like 3 or 4 guys. They were all good, but granite arms regularly gets 30 or 40 people in there, and some of them are some pretty big fellas. That must be helping.
Yeah, it's nice because no matter what level you're at, if you can check your ego, I imagine every top guy goes through it. People always ask John Brzenk the same thing, like, how do you get training? But if you could check your ego and you can stay on the table, it doesn't take long when you've got a list of qualified people before you're knocked down and you're on par with everybody. And you have a lot of different makes and models. And like you said, you got some really big dudes there and some fast guys and some strong guys and a little bit of everything. So it's been good. I haven't been able to go as much as I want because I've been leery about pushing too much table time. I'm kind of doing things a little different. Instead of really killing the table time, I feel where I get a little polish on the table time, and then I go strengthen up angles in the gym, kind of like a lot of what they preach over in like Russia and stuff. I'm kind of taking a nod of trying some of that, like not really breaking down the joints, especially this close. Like I'd rather go in feeling healthy than feeling like I got a ton of table time, but my elbows hurt.
Yeah, right. It's always smart, really close to the competition, to not like introduce this huge change of stimulus. So if all of a sudden you start training like a madman so close to it, you might not,
Right. And I'm one of those guys that really, I can't consciously go 60%. Once you get in the mode and you're feeling like, your blood's going and you're feeling warm and you're breaking each other's balls and you're having fun, it's going to turn to be 110% for 2 hours, no matter what, whether you like it or not. That's just me. I don't even know how to go in my basement and lift 60% for recovery, because then you're like, wow, this feels good. This feels light. And then you want to crank it up to see, like, where am I? And that's what I always find myself doing. So for me, the rest cycle right now is the hardest part.
How long are you resting for it?
I said I was going to start last week, and then I just go around. I go down to the basement with my kids, and I fuck around. So, I mean, I'm saying 2 weeks out. I don't like to do too long a rest because then I start feeling sloppy.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, where I am training now, I'd like to stay in training mode, but, I'm one of those meatheads that thinks that the strength is built in the gym as opposed to during the rest cycle, and science says it's built in the rest cycle.
I know, it sucks, doesn't it? It's the worst.
So
the one part that makes you feel like you're not, you're weak. The rest part, right? Of course.
So you've had these questions before, Rob, but people love to hear you talk about it anyway. I'm going to combine a couple of them. Paul Lynn and Tomas, who's out in Chile, are both curious about, who you feel like your current personal rivalry is, and we probably can guess. Yeah. But also, if you wouldn't mind walking people through the matches you had with those, that person or those couple people at finals last year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for me, I think it's got to be Todd Hutchins. We've banged each other up, and it's come down to me or him advancing for the finals every year I've been in the WAL. He beat me at regionals 2 years ago, and then I made my way through the finals and in the big final, and it was me and him in the final again. Second year, I beat him in regionals. Then in the finals, I beat him in the preliminary rounds, and then he made his way back up the B side so we could do a best of 5 or best of 3, and he beat me twice. So last year, I got 3 wins on him. He got 2 on me, but we've been kind of bumping heads. We've been the roadblock for each other. He's been the guy that's taken it at the bigger tournaments. He exploited. He's a smart puller. Todd's a smart puller. Todd's a strong puller. I've always given the nod that's I think his brain's what makes him the most dangerous. And with a team of guys like Bob Brown behind him and stuff, I think they found a place where I was kind of uneducated and vulnerable, and they exploited it. And I kicked and screamed. I quit. I fucking cursed it. I did everything. And it's like being a pacifist during war times. You can only hold up your, make love not war sign too long until someone comes to your doorstep, and then you can either die with that sign in your hand or you can learn how to shoot a gun.
Right.
So I'm at the point where I don't necessarily have to agree with the war. I don't like straps, the idea of them anymore, but I've, had to learn to embrace them because it's been the whole. I haven't felt really vulnerable anywhere else on a table except for straps. And like I said, the whole match with Storm was a very aha moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me and Josh were talking about this earlier before the show, where especially like you said, you have to learn the straps because it's part of the game now, and especially with the WAL, it's very difficult to stay out of the straps if somebody wants them because Todd was having a very hard time getting to the straps with you, and then in the finals last year, the fact that you can foul and get to the straps at the same time now is very tricky.
Well, yeah, because if they can't actually break your hand, if they can't get away from you while maintaining the elbow pad, lifting the elbow, I mean, now you're talking basically physically impossible. I don't care what your hand's made out of. You can pull out of anything. So if that rule was modified, I mean, I got a very high success rate of making people pay for attempting to slip.
Right.
I mean, I'm a notorious hand clamper, and I'll get in a position to make you suffer for trying to get the straps. And I assume that's going to be my tactic now because my hand only feels stronger and I feel more capable of pushing sideways with people. But the idea of the straps doesn't horrify me like it used to. I mean, I'm not Jason Vale in them, but I'm also not totally green either.
Yeah, it's totally true. Like especially if you can gain an inch or two off the top of that pad, all of a sudden your leverages completely change. And there really aren't too many people other than I would say you and Chad Silvers are probably those two guys where if you try to bail underneath, it's going to be a bad mistake for you.
Yeah.
Cobra probably in the lightweights. Cobra's done that to quite a few guys too.
Yeah, even when a lot of people, if they feel their hand breaking, they'll come this way to try to slip that way. But I love that spot because as soon as I can get a bite on somebody, Well,
that's how you beat Todd twice. You basically did some kind of cool press while you're basically clamping on his fingers, and it really confused him.
Yeah, I mean, that's he's on the end of his hand with his hand rotated out, and I throw my shoulder on it. I mean, you're in big trouble. Ideally, I'd like to not end up there. I'd like to have a little more control. He'd probably like it to go right to the straps. But this is like the arm wrestling's a combat game. It's like the fight game. It's not about, well, I'm the greatest boxer in the world and I lose to a wrestler, or I'm the greatest wrestler in the world, I lose to a boxer. You got to kind of round out those bases too. So, I mean, I feel that if I pull smart, my power is on par with him. I feel as strong as anybody. I just need to apply it as good as he does. I think he's been better at applying it.
Yeah. I think that one thing that's excellent about both of you guys is your ability to transition through techniques and be equally strong in them. Chris Gabi just commented that you haven't had to win in a hook recently in a large percentage of your matches, and I know your hook is diesel, and it's interesting to me because a lot of times people end up going there as strong guys end up in hook with one another, and it doesn't seem to happen with you, which says a lot about the power that you have in your hand to prevent it. And you and Todd both have an ability to pull in strange positions.
Yeah. I mean, you don't really want to hook if you don't have to. I like to hook. My left hook feels great. My right feels amazing. But when you're talking, you got a deep field. I mean, if I can just, roll through my thumb pad into people, I got caught up in my earlier years negating my hand because of things like that thought process that I felt negated, that people thought I was just a hand, that I didn't have an arm, like I was a lucky kid born with a big hand. So I just started chopping people, not chopping, but like kind of scooping people. And when you get up to the upper levels and, you get into super matches with a guy like Sylvain Perron and you're scooping them, that's a long day. I mean, nobody shits on Arson or Travis Bajan for just hammering them sideways to the pad, but for some reason I felt the need to solidify my spot that I could hook too. But I think that if I was to drop into a hook with anyone in the class, I'm more than capable.
Mm-hmm.
If it turned shoulder to shoulder and not me stretched out on a bicep and them shouldering me, if it turned into a real true hook, I think my power right now is surprising. As I know where I've been when I was healthy and strong, and I know where I am now. So I hope I don't have to hook anybody, but I mean, I don't think it would be a big problem if I did. I mean, people run from my hook. You don't see people chopping me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a huge surprise to people to hear that your hook feels really good. It's looked, like you said, no, people aren't, there's very few people that are really trying to force you into a hook.
Yeah. I mean, the only person that really wants to go sideways is Todd. Everyone else backs away from me. I put my shoulder up there and people run backwards with me. So me not being in a hook match is the big culprit there is the people I'm pulling too. So, I mean,
and people always, like you said, I don't want people to think I'm just a hand kind of thing. And it's like, that is the one thing of the sport, right? It's like, well, you can't beat him in a hook. And it's like, but can you beat him though? It's like the Jerry Cadavret syndrome. It's like, Jerry has this incredible press and people are like, yeah, but he can't top roll. It's like, but he can beat those guys.
And that's the people you're dealing with, which is what's been great for my psyche is not trying to change those people's minds.
Yeah.
Because I mean, some of the people that are so beyond rationality that I'm just like, I want to pull my fucking hair out, but I don't. I just dip away and say, opinions are opinions. That's cool.
Jerry and Travis are in the middle of trash talking each other right now in the comments.
Oh, that right?
Yeah. But Tom Nelson just said that you're going to win 95s and then go to 225s next year to punk everybody. Pull a Katowski.
I mean, if it was feasible for me to jump up, I mean, I've pulled a lot of the guys in the class, but I mean, it's nothing for me to hover around 200 pounds. I wake up now. I got on the scale the other day, 196.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I might do it if I can get the hammer. If I can pull it out left and right, then I'll jump. But right now, I would have jumped this year. But I would have felt like it was I could have won both hammers in 225. And it felt like it was like I dodged out of 95. I felt like there's always been that asterisk that I fell short 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And good thing, Todd didn't chase me to 225.
Mm-hmm.
I could blow away Devin Larratt, but people will always be like, well, what about Todd? So that's kind of like the unwritten story for me.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe
that's legit.
Yeah, if we got on some of that sports nutrition, maybe that 225 class would be pretty fun too.
I mean, motherfuckers can blow up 30 pounds, no problem. But I mean, I don't.
Just, protein powder. They eat a lot of whey protein.
I got weak genetics or something.
Yeah, that's the one thing you don't have.
Probably it.
So obviously Todd's a big a big subject, but so there's new guys this year. Danny Tesh coming from Australia, who's really amazing, and Jordan Sill, who I don't know if you've pulled before or not, but those are two significant additions to the 195s this year. Do you have any thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to focus on one person, but I'm really trying to focus on everybody like one at a time because you've got to get through the rounds. You can't. There's a lot of capable people. I mean, Jordan Sill, I'm worried about people I've never gone against. And then there's people that you've gone against that have improved their game. So It's like there are guys that stand out and there are guys that are good. I've never seen Danny Tesh pull. I've, only seen Jordan pull a little bit. I know he was always a good 200-pounder and then he moved up and now he's back down. But, I mean, there's a lot of other guys. I've never pulled Craig Toulier. I've never pulled any of the Europeans. I never pulled Nenestad. Now, does that mean I'm at a huge threat of losing? I don't know. It just means that there's a big unknown there. And you got to be careful. I got to be careful because you go watch somebody's YouTube highlight reel and everybody looks untouchable in their highlight reel.
Sure.
I'll be like, oh, I can't grab that guy full-handed because he couldn't. But who is that? What's his strength level? So it could play on my head. So a lot of times I try to just go in with the game plan of me dictating and letting them worry about what I'm going to do as opposed to the other way around. Because I've done that.
John Brown philosophy.
Trying to have 5 different angles for 5 different guys, and it's fucking ridiculous when you could just go sideways.
Yeah, well, when you go in thinking all those things and you leave out the most important part, which is just show up and arm wrestle, If you leave out that part, you miss every go. First of
just
all,
bang, right?
It's just like get in there and do what we always do.
Yeah.
Do you go through all these strategies and stuff when you put your arm on the table for practice, or do you just arm wrestle? I'm gonna arm wrestle people.
That's how I pull best. Like when I'm just raw, I get up there. That's why I call it King Dick. When I just get up there, grab people kind of full handed and just run with it. That's when I pull good. When I get up there and I'm like geeking out and I'm looking at my knuckle and looking at his finger and I'm kind of figuring out where my hips are and they fire the go, and then it's over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of good guys. Everybody's good. The worst guy in the class is a very good arm wrestler. So you got to kind of pay attention, or you're going to be someone's highlight reel that makes them famous. I don't want to be. I don't want to be that Giannis Amolins when he was supposed to blow Justin Bishop out of the water and Justin cracked him, and that became like the biggest video in the arm wrestling world for a month.
Right.
Like I don't see the guy that is somebody else. Like I don't want to be the Mike Tyson Buster Douglas thing. You got to look at everybody like they're Todd Hutchings or the number one guy. Everyone's got to be that guy, or you're going to get caught up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you got to treat them like that just so you're ready when you and Todd hit. I mean, just because...
Right, if it is destiny for us to hit, it's going to be who could hit with the least damage.
Right.
And in a class like that, I mean, I love the addition of guys like that because the way I see it is, unless all the cards and all the stars align, those dudes are going to be softening up certain angles that I don't think I'm as prone to getting softened up with. Mm-hmm. I think my hand and wrist is at a much higher level than his. And those guys banging away the top, I'm longer than Todd. So, I mean, them bang up the top, they're going to soften up those areas. That's going to, if everything was even, whoever gets through at least damage matters.
Always.
So, I like having all long guys in a class. Bang away.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing class. We talked to Rustam 2 weeks ago, Rob, and he's walking around about 90 kilograms as well. And we talked for a long time about, would he join the WAL if they opened it? And he said instantaneously he would be the first one to sign up. And he's a guy I would love to see people like you and Todd Hutchings pull, because he came over here, he went to Nevada State and smashed everybody. But there's a lot of guys in his weight class in this country that weren't there. You, Todd, Herman, other people, and it would be. I mean, he hasn't faced any of you guys. And that's the kind of. I would love to see you guys match up.
I'm sure he's every bit as amazing as his reputation calls for, but when you got a highlight reel of pulling people in a kind of a backyard C-rate tournament, and you're a 50-time WAF puller, I mean, and there's the unknown of how he pulls. Europeans have a very like a guy like him has a very different style than the States here, but. You got to put same for same with people. I don't think there's many guys that can run with him, but I think there's a couple. Whether they beat him or not, I think they can lay him up and let them know that they're there. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's many.
Yeah. Right, and many years ago, Todd went over to the Zloty tour and pulled Rustam at I think 86 kilos back then.
Yeah, they were both light,
and it was not an easy match for Rustam, and Rustam was in his prime. As far as
that's when Rustam was a robot,
right? And and Todd, in my opinion, is better now, or at least right there.
30 pounds, he's about 30 pounds heavier now. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot more experience. He's got a lot more in the tool bag. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting match. But everybody looks untouchable until they're touched.
Yeah,
right. Especially in this sport.
Like years back, I had a conversation with Travis on the phone about Denis Cyplenkov being an alien and no one was going to beat him. And in my opinion, I says, I don't think he's that far ahead of the curve of the guys that are out there, meaning like, maybe him or Chafee and stuff. And he thought I was crazy. He was going to run everybody over. And that was the year that Dave laid him up. And now they're in the center of the table for a big, long match. And all of a sudden, the guy who was an alien looked very human. So, I mean, everybody knows facts until like 1 second changes your whole thought process.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like Tyson said
Giannis was going to blow Justin Bishop out of the water at UAL. It was just going to be a stepping stone. Mm-hmm. And then he got crushed.
That's why they have the matches. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're right too, because I mean, European pullers do tend to have certain styles that we don't, and it's the same problem for them coming here as it is us going over there. They're not used to the different angles.
Well, yeah, I mean, it looks great for him because he beats a big guy like Chris Chandler, but Chris Chandler's kind of that like scooping under, not as explosive hooker, and a guy like Rustum who will jack down on you from his lat and get low. I mean, that's going to be a long day for anybody if you don't neutralize that from the start. I mean, there's too much power by the time you freeze it up. I mean, you can't usually use like one guy as like a test for exactly where somebody is. But Rustam doesn't need a test. He's been all over the world and he hasn't pulled a lot of guys here. But I mean, I don't need to pull him to know he's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to go back to your point of, everybody is untouchable until they're touched. Really, it's like
Right.
there's like two different pullers you can think of, and one of them is the guy who has a chance to win, and then there's the guy who has the chance to lose. And the guy who has a chance to win is this close to cracking everybody, but then the guy who has a chance to lose is like, never even looks touched until he does, right? So the guy who has a chance to win is usually more dangerous because once he cracks into the I can win now, the guy who has the chance to lose all of a sudden looks like a human being suddenly.
Right. I feel like every couple months, like the arm wrestler community, Facebook, all that, they have to have somebody that's new, untouchable. And it's always like with the asterisk, well, right now, Pushkar was untouchable. Then Dennis was untouchable. Then Trubin was untouchable. Then Chafee was untouchable. And it's almost like once these guys lose, you stop hearing their names. Like Trubin was all the rage.
Oh, yeah.
All the rage. He beat Michael Todd. Nobody could touch him on earth. He was all the rage. Then he loses to Pushkar, and you don't even hear Trubin being talked about anymore. Like he's a bum now. So and every weight class has that. Zoloev was that guy, and then Todd beat him, and then everybody goes through an evolution of being that untouchable person, and it's just not reality. It's there's amongst the top guys, it can run pretty tight, and everybody has theories and what can and can't be done until it's done, and that's kind of like what records are made for. Once upon a time, they probably thought nobody would ever run under 10 seconds in the 100. Now you don't even qualify to go to the now you're not even a good collegiate friggin' runner if you don't break 10.
Right.
Well, and I'll go even a step further with that thought process these days. You can see a practice video on Facebook, and people are like, "Oh, that guy's a bum now. What the fuck? He's been pulling for 5 hours, and he can't beat he can't beat one of the top guys. What a loser!"
I saw a video of a guy slaying Devin Larratt, and people were like, oh my God, they were ready to call sponsorships and fucking Nike and Gatorade and everything. And I'm like, you guys are really that daft. Like, if there's one person that I've pulled with that can genuinely check his ego and pull with you without trying to fuck your shit up, is Devin. Like, he's really good to work with. If he feels a vulnerability or if you do have a better angle than him, like, he's not afraid to let you work it. And, he's not afraid to let his arm touch the pad, and he's not afraid to go for 6 hours and lose to the guy that comes out of the stands. But the fucking guy's beating the best in the world, and he's the one raising the hammers, right? So but people say these things, and they don't look at the bigger picture. And it, again, this is me trying to, like, rationalize with some people, and I got to throw my hands there and say, you're fucking nuts. Like, I can't talk to you.
Yeah, I saw a video a while back of Devin and Michael Todd training together. And Michael was pinning him in the straps, over and over again, but they were pulling. And it's like, everybody's like, oh my God, Devin he must be this and he must be that. And Michael Todd, I'm like, are you guys serious? They've probably been pulling outside for 4 hours.
Exactly.
Michael Todd's strong as shit. Like, what is the big shock here? That these two great athletes are training together.
Practice videos, it's just propaganda. It's made to cause controversy. And people, that's why as soon as people lock up and practice and you see the videos come on YouTube, it's going to be some bullshit. It's always some bullshit.
Yeah, I know. You're right about that. I love that, though. I think it's good because, when you go on there and if you, like you said, if you have a strong psyche and you're able to put your ego aside and you go there and people put up videos of you losing to all these different people, then they start, he's beatable. And maybe I don't have to worry about him as much. And then in the tournament, when you're full strength, it's a completely different story. And a lot of times it takes them completely by surprise.
Oh, yeah, you're full strength. You're being aggressive. You're not treating them like a friend. You're not letting them hit into your hand and,
catching.
That's they call that too. A lot of times people get like a partner, like training partner envy, where they way overestimate the guy they train because the way they train with them, like they're letting the guy hit them, they're letting the guy get in their spot, and they're like, this guy's a fucking wall.
Right.
But then go to the tournament, that guy can't get those spots, and people aren't being nice to him, and he goes 2-0. And 2 weeks before, they were all over Facebook saying this guy was going to be the next world champion, and he don't even win a match.
Mm-hmm.
So they a lot of times people, because of how they train with each other, they get practice partner envy too. So
that's a problem. I mean, it's a big problem. I mean, that's why, a lot of training places you go, and I'm sure you've had this experience, there's certain people that will always start and they cheat a little bit. They get a little bit of crick in their wrist, a little bit over the knuckle and all that kind of stuff. And as you said, when they go to a tournament and all that stuff gets taken away from them, they get nothing.
Oh, yeah. Well, some of the practices I've been to, and I've seen the people show up at WAL, and I'm like, they're not going to be able to adjust because I see how they train. You train 10,000 starts a month, triple capped with your wrist bent, and now they're going to make you come down like this and kind of go only single capped. They shit their pants. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it can go both ways too. Like if you're the guy who trains cheating everything, wrist curled in way too high.
Wait a minute. Cheating has proven to be effective to win hammers.
It's what I call technique. But
right.
if you train that too much and you can't do that in a tournament, you're gonna lose. And it also, if you get really in the mode of catching everybody and playing around, and then you go into a tournament with that mindset too, you're gonna get fucking laid out.
Well, that's the thing with muscle memory and training like your nervous system to fire off and stuff, right? Is if you're always comfortable just catch it, and then you get there on game day and you want to be quick off the start and hammer people offensively, your body doesn't even know how to do that. You haven't even done that with it because you're always just kind of like, duh. So I mean, you got to that's something that I've tried to start doing, is training myself from center line and having some reactivity and firing from the start.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, and really just going in there and just the mindset and the thought of, I'm gonna fucking kill people. I'm not gonna pull them.
Right.
Like we're not here to pull. I'm here to pin people.
I like that version of you too, Rob. I agree with what you said earlier. When you get into that mode, you do much better because I think inside your head you're like, nobody can beat me. I'm gonna smash all these motherfuckers, and that's what happens.
Yeah,
I think you should probably get someone to smack you or punch you in the throat right before the tournament starts.
Maybe not the throat.
It takes something to really trigger either an aggressive or flight or fight response, and it can be one or two people. I could totally snail up and curl up in my shell and want to go home, or I could totally rage out and want to fight people. So it depends.
Well, I remember a couple years back. Yeah, a couple years back when I think it was Todd who said he's as strong as steel, and you were like, "Oh, really?" And that's when you came back and you really.
I think that was the last time both of us were good left-handed.
Yeah, exactly. It was just
neither one of us performed at maximal capacity since that match. But yeah, little tricky things like that can aggravate. It could be anything. It could be a ref screwing me. It could be, or sometimes I've had times where I just curl up and go home and talk to myself on the plane ride home. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get away from that version. I'm trying to kill that version. Mute them.
Yeah.
Well, usually good consistent training usually shuts that guy up.
Yeah, I haven't had that in a long time, so I'm thinking that will be the X factor this year.
It could be. I mean, just listening to you, it's got to be a pretty dramatic change over what you've been doing the last few years, which has got to be very scary for everybody else in your class, considering what your strength and technique level was already. These people have been patient with their questions. Let me get a couple of them in here. A few people asking about what's after WAL. Are you going to go to the Zloty tour? That's from Herman Stevens. And someone else is asking, which I've asked you many times, about WAF in your future. And Paul Lynn is also in there asking about what's next after WAL. So tell us, what is next?
Oh, man. I haven't really looked past it. I'm really in obsessive arm wrestling mode right now. So I would love to do Zloty. I would love to do WAF. It 110%. It just comes down to time and finances, really.
Right.
I mean, I don't like to be one of those broke ass people that's like, oh, I can't go here because of money and shit like that. But you do the WAL circuit and you chase 4 or 5 tournaments and you fly around enough places, and it's kind of like a dream. And right now, it's like asking you know, Usain Bolt, what's he gonna do after the Olympics? He's like, well, fuck you. Talk to me the day after the Olympics. Like, I'm looking at because if I'm already looking, like, it's like looking past somebody on round one. Like, I can't look past that tournament. I got to win that tournament before I look past it. You know, or I could have another 365 days of, you know, crying in my bed and watching Todd Hutchins videos at 2:00 in the morning. Fucker. I got more hours logged on that guy's YouTube.
That's the way to do it, though, man. You study your enemy. Eventually, you find the secrets. And sometimes it's like, you know, you don't even pick it up consciously, but you start feeling things on the table, and something you watched 1,000 times finally clicks when you lock up with them. So I think it's a good way to spend your time.
It's the same thing, too, like you said, you know, what are you doing after the Olympics? Ask me the day after the Olympics. It's the same thing when someone's like, what's your plan against that guy? It's like the fucking win. Don't talk about I'm not talking about a plan.
Like, I would like to do all those things. I mean, that would be amazing to go to Zloty and do all that stuff. So it just comes down to time frame. You know, if I go to WAL and take 5th place, I'll tell you what's next for me. You're gonna find me in a corner bar somewhere listening to Barry Manilow thinking about my wrists.
Oh man!
If I win it, I might be getting plane tickets. You know what I mean? It all hinges on that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a fair answer. That's a good answer too. I mean, I think that you know, people are watching someone that they're a big fan of, and they get excited about, geez, I wonder what RVJ would do here, and you know, we forget. You know, you have to be an elite level athlete. You have to have a laser like focus on one goal if you're going to reach it. And so the goal is WAL, and whatever happens after that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, I compare this a lot to any combat sport, your fight game or anything. I mean, if Mayweather's training for Pacquiao, he can't be looking at the fight with the next guy, you know, that could happen if he wins. You know, you got to get the W first and then worry about what you do after that, because it's amazing what a crushing defeat or like a really, you know, uplifting victory will do for your psyche when you're in the same exact situation. You know, you'd be a lot more prone to jump on a plane if you run through and take first than if you took 6th. Like, I always wondered why motherfuckers go to nationals when they're taking like 3rd in their state. I'm like, so you just might love hanging out here or something, because like you can't even beat your training partner yet you're running off to like California. So you were bored that weekend, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at. If I'm the best guy, I'll have much broader view of things.
Well, that's an intelligent way to look at it.
Momentum changes quite a bit of things, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get a couple of training questions in here. Every time we have you on, people are always, how do you get biceps like that? What do you do for your biceps? What's the best training for biceps? How do you strengthen your biceps? So go for it, man. Tell them the secret. Tell them the magic potion that they need.
I don't think I do anything different than anyone else. I think part of the bicep is genetic. I've always had a really good, strong, developed bicep, even when I didn't work out. But I like all variations of curls. I love the curl.
Full
I've
range
always loved bicep strength. I've loved the curl. I've loved the pull-up. I love the one-arm pull-up, and it's just things that I've always played with at a maximal level. I don't lift medium. I don't lift light. When I do lift, I lift heavy to where I'm even like 105%, you know, of what my max is. So, I mean, and then I don't know, shit just comes along. But, I mean, there's like that guy that's your friend that has abs no matter what he eats, and then there's a guy who diets like a motherfucker and always has love handles. So, I mean, genetics is a part of it, but I've always loved arm development. It's something ever since I was a kid. I mean, you look at superheroes, and what would a superhero be? If you took a jacked ass superhero and gave him skinny legs, he's still gonna look jacked, right? But if you took a guy and gave him giant legs and a skinny upper body, you can't have that as a superhero. You could be jacked with skinny legs, but you can't be jacked with big legs and no upper body. You can't be.
Right.
So I was always a guy that really liked developed arms, biceps, triceps, forearms. So that's pretty much what I enjoyed doing.
Yeah, who
when you do your curls,
who gives a fuck about your back if you don't have biceps? You know what I mean?
Right.
Rustam cares about both. But do you do full range curls, or are you doing like arm wrestling, like 120 degrees or what have you when you're doing?
Yeah, I've always done full range. That's probably when I felt the best and healthiest. Recently, I've cut down my angles just to kind of just feel like the angles get tighter, like close the gap on like, you know, how I tighten up. It's an experimentation phase. Like every couple months I have a different theory, but some of that too can come with where I feel I'm making gains at the moment. You know, and right now I'm doing partials, but I don't feel like it's giving me any development. It might make me stronger. So it's like I still got kind of like that meathead mentality. Like if I see my muscles growing, I associate with being stronger. And we all know that the science of strength as opposed to the science of looking good is two different things. So right now I'm doing a lot of partials. I'll do some full ranges, but for the majority of what I've done has been full range, men's fitness, pick it up, 4 sets of 6 or 5 or whatever, and just lift heavy, get strong.
Bam Bam lift heavy things. Bam Bam get strong.
Don't fuck the movement. Don't try to be the guy on YouTube and add a little something so you could prove that you're as strong as him. Do real lift.
I use styrofoam weights.
Those are good. It's weight. Yeah. It's the movement. It's flexibility, rehabilitation.
One of the best videos, in my opinion, that you posted, Rob, was a couple of years ago. Was you doing a dead hang one-arm pull-up while holding a 25-pound dumbbell in your hand, and I've never seen anybody of our weight do that before, and it was incredible to me, just the raw power that you have. So it's when people ask questions like that, I mean, it's you can't get to that point without a dramatic amount of very serious training over a long period of time. And probably you're right, it probably has a lot to do with genetics too, but I mean, it's just incredible power.
Yeah, I've loved the one-arm pull-up. It's just something that kind of, once I could do it, I could always do it. It's like it's something I was always able to do. And if, you see a guy like the way Rustum pulls, he kind of pulls like he's doing a one-arm pull-up. He kind of like lowers his body, and he just kind of sucks people down from his lat. And that's where I think if I hooked people, I could be very dangerous because I could pull with that level of, say, 220 pounds in that kind of direction, that if I can just translate it to my hand to the table and just kind of like one-arm pull-up people, it could be a really powerful move. But yeah, the one-arm pull-up's good. I think it can translate to arm wrestling strength 110% if you use it right. And again, that's something I've always liked feats of strength. Even with the legs, my legs just weren't particularly big, but I've always had a fascination for just body strength, people who are strong.
Yeah, and that lat strength too you're talking about being translating to the table. I think it's really helpful if you can really tie it into your rotation, into pronation. Because I think really good pronation is awesome. Great lat strength is awesome, but if you can tie both those together, that's when it's really.
Well, that's when you see guys just winning like this, going just kind of like cutting down and rolling people like fairly easy. That's when they take that next level from like. They're creeping on, like, who's the kid I just watched that pulls just like that up in, was it Canada? I was like, who the fuck is this kid? Omar?
Okay.
Does that name ring a bell? One of the Canadians that's watching could probably jump on it. He was at a John Milne tournament.
Okay. And
he looked like he was in the 165-pound class, but he just kind of set up kind of high. And on the start, you just see his elbow drag back, and he kind of like just cuts down. And then he pissed through the heavyweights. He pissed through the 95s. He pissed through the 65s. Yeah, he looked very impressive. I'm sure somebody will chime in. The kid Omar looked really good. But it's that kind of strength. If you can apply it and then get good at applying it and get fast at applying it because it's your only direction and let everyone else worry about how to shut it down, I mean, then you have a guy like Rustum who wins 10 world championships in a row and gets busted for being a fucking meatball.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, there was a bunch of people.
You didn't think I was going to get out of this conversation unscathed, did you?
That's cool.
Never.
Rustum doesn't speak English, so.
Oh, good. I don't need to be on the hit list like the other Russian who killed people. What was his name?
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember.
Miliani.
Yeah.
Oh, Roman.
Yeah, they're saying his name is Omar. People are saying you're right. It was Omar who did that. Jason Merlo saying that he thinks you're awesome, but watch out because next year he's coming to get you. So there you go.
Awesome. Like I said, I'm not looking at next year. I'm looking at this year. So luckily for me, I got a window that's apparently closing. So I better seize it up this year.
Let's see what else we got here for questions. This is a good one. I don't know if you want to. Omar, he's from Brooklyn, New York. He's the Georgian national champ at 75 kilograms. Someone just said. So.
All right then.
Yeah, I could tell from watching him. Like it wasn't just that there was no level of who he was pulling because he did pull. Ezzy Warden was in his class, who I have good respect for.
Yep.
But the way he pulled in his execution, I mean, yeah, he was impressive. He looked very good. I mean, he beat everybody.
Amazing.
Well, beating everybody is a good start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a pretty good start. I mean, if you're going to start
Like,
somewhere, why
right?
not?
Wait to something.
Michael Han, who's a member of Team USA, wants to know if the Rob Vigeant 100-pound strict curl challenge is still in effect,
Oh,
or
nice.
has anyone matched it?
It took a long time. I got one video from a kid, Michael Fopp, who did, I think, 100. And I kind of was breaking his balls saying I crossed the 100 line a way back, and he didn't believe me. And I think I put one up of, was it 101 or 102?
Mm-hmm.
But I did, that video was up just because at the time of the Northeast board, every Tom, Dick, and Harry could curl 100 for reps of 20.
Yeah.
So the challenge really was like, show me. It doesn't mean go to your basement, do growth hormone or steroids, and then come out with a video 5 years later when all you've done is bicep curl to prove me wrong. It meant show me a video. And I got a lot of emails, and I got everybody hitting me up, every big bicep idiot hitting me up trying to sell me how they could do it. I said, well, show me a video. No video ever came my way. The $100 never left. I did the 100. So if Denis Cyplenkov did it, he lost out on the 100. If Dmitry Trubin does it, he's gone. That's gone. That's like when they were offering bounties for someone who could run a 4-minute mile. That's back then. Now it's new days.
The future.
But can he do the 100 curl challenge? Because I saw Tom Nelson's 100-pound curl. I hope it doesn't look like that.
You know, one of my favorite things you ever did, Rob, is I was very new in the sport, and you went out to the ROTN 2009, and you brought a tape measure with you.
Oh yeah.
And you said, "Where are all these fucking big 20-inch biceps at?" And everybody's like, "I gotta go."
165 pounders had 17-inch forearms. I said, "Do you know what a 17-inch forearm looks like? Do you even have an idea?" Like, okay, maybe Oleg and Matthias Schlitter or whatever his name is have one. But I'm like, do you really realize a guy like John Brzezinski is known in the sport of arm wrestling for having a massive forearm? And I measured his, and it was like 15 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't tell me at 160 pounds when nobody's like stopping you off the street for your forearms that you got 17. So after hearing that enough, again, it was like the curls or the pull-ups, or anything that proves strength. Bullshit. It was all bullshit talk. Not one of them was within inches of what they had professed online.
I love that, man.
Some of the real big guys, the real big liars, dipped. They took the fuck off.
That's the part I remember.
Yeah. When I pulled the tape out, like 5 guys dropped their beer and.
Oh, I'm tired. I gotta go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
So I was saying that guy Omar you're just talking about got second place at the Nemiroff in 2010 in the 63 kilogram class. So he's clearly legit.
Yeah, he's super real. He looked good.
Oh man, I love the measuring tape thing. I want some people to start saying some more bullshit to get you riled up.
Well, you know what it is? It's not so much like the mentality of like, oh, you can't curl as much as me, or your arms aren't that big. But it's like for guys that read numbers and all they can do is compare stats, like fake numbers and fake measurements make a new kid feel like, holy fuck, you're telling me there's a kid that's 60 kilograms in my class that's curling 100-pound dumbbells, and he's got a 20-inch forearm? I can never compete. When really it's horseshit.
Right.
Because I tell people, I'm like, if you could really do that, you wouldn't lose through your bicep. You wouldn't. I promise you, if you're curling 100-pound dumbbells strictly, you're not going to lose through your bicep. Not to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You might lose to the best guy in your class, but you're not going to. They're going to bounce off your arm.
It's the same thing to me, like with the guy who's been pulling for 6 years, enters novice, smashes some dude that just gets off the street, and he's like, "Dude, I can't even beat novices. I'm not doing the sport."
Yeah.
Right. It gives a really bad. And that's something I talked to Steve Kaplan about, and we might have talked about on here, that I think that there's not enough levels in arm wrestling. It should be like karate or something where, after you win so many tournaments or so many matches as a white belt, you move up to the yellow belt. And then you have to win like 3 tournaments as a yellow belt to move, and you're going to want to move on for status. But that way there, people are always lumped into, and if you get one ringer, he's going to move out of that class soon enough anyways.
Right.
But this shit of like people dipping into classes. I go to, tournaments with my brother-in-law, Jason, who's very new, and there'll be guys there that I'm like, dude, I saw you at Nationals in like 2005. What are you doing in this tournament? But they can't win the Open, so they want to get all the glory for smashing everyone in Vegas in the amateurs. And it really defeats people. Like my brother-in-law got really defeated because he felt good about himself, that he was competitive, and then he goes out and pulls 2 pros and gets fucking hammered, 2 and out, and he's like, I don't belong in this sport.
Yeah,
so
it's like, it's like bullshit, man. You just got
fake
smashed
numbers,
by some guy who can't.
Training. Yeah. I'll go online and watch some of these Russian videos of guys doing wrist curls with 200-pound dumbbells, and I'm like, so is that real? Like, how does that guy's wrist get cracked back? And then you'll see him pulling somebody in his class with his wrist backwards. Yeah. And I'm like, how can that happen? I know you can't put 200 pounds into his hand. So are these fake weights? Is it propaganda? And, they are famous for a little bit of propaganda too, kind of, the old Alexei Vovoda weights that were like the cheap Photoshop that was like 15 of them.
Yeah, right. He's like shadow. Smiling. He's like giving the peace sign.
These are strong guys. You don't got to make fake numbers.
Yeah, and now it's even, let's be honest, it's super easy now with Facebook. I mean, everybody posts every hour. Oh, I just did 15,000 pull-ups, and then an hour later they're like, "Yo, I just did a 150-pound curl. Feel great. Training's on a whole different level." And people like go, "What is this guy doing?" And he's not doing anything.
On these boards, by far, I've learned that if I go on the internet, I'm by far the weakest motherfucker to ever walk this earth.
Yeah.
I mean, bench pressing. I know more 150-pound kids that bench 450 for reps. I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
like,
it's impressive.
If I push 300, I'm feeling like fucking Zeus that day.
Yeah, and they're like 14 if you look at the internet.
Oh my God, man! So this is why people miss you on Facebook, Rob.
And I get myself in trouble.
Well, it's funny because Michael
contract put out on me yet.
As far as you know, Michael Hand said he asked you that question because he was hoping to start off a rant, so he was successful in that. Well done. This was fun for the rest of us too. You got any predictions for the other classes, or any matches or matchups you're looking forward to seeing outside of your own weight?
All right. So what are we at? 65.
65.
Sam Harris looks great this year. I don't think Luke Kent's going to be in it, but I like where Devin Larratt is with Adam Wilmot as a dark horse. I do think that right-handed, you'd be a fool to not include Justin Bishop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's in this sport, you can have 30 good tournaments. You have one bad tournament, whether it's just you're not there mentally, you had some injuries, or you just had a bad day, but your consistency should speak. A guy like him who's never been out of the finals, all of a sudden, people don't even want to they're like, this is the whole thing about a new guy. Like, oh, this guy's going to run away with it this year. Mm-hmm. It's like, you got to look at him as a major, major, major threat. Giannis, Sam, Adam Wilmot looks great. So I don't know too much about the other guys. Left-handed, I like Devin's predictions there. 225s. It's going to be really hard to vote against Devin. Who's coming over? I don't think anybody coming over from overseas can shake it up. I think he's
let's see who's coming. Ryan Scott, Brett Kautz, Marvin Palmer, Mike Gattoni from England.
Marvin Palmer's pretty tough. England.
Now the X factor is going to be that always how it plays out with the brackets. Mm-hmm. Ron's got the torque. Matt looks like his torque has stepped up. So Matt, obviously, I like to see. I'm a fan of Matt Mask. I'd like to see him pull everybody. Mm-hmm. Devin's super complete. Where's Marcio going to fall? Are we going to get a classic Final Four of Marcio, Ron Bath? Probably. But it's all going to be in if they can pick up enough damage and how the rules are modified. How they modify getting into those straps. Because it'll be a different game, if people got to hang on to Matt Mask. That changes things a little bit.
Yeah,
sure. That makes it more a game for Ron Bath as opposed to some of the other guys. So, I mean, odds-on favorite, I like Devin. But, man, it's fucking close. Matt looks really, really strong. And then there's always those other guys that are just as strong, but because they haven't won the last event, you want to forget about them.
Yeah. Right.
Like, we haven't seen as much Ron Bath, so we're forgetting about talking about him.
Right.
Can't forget Ron Bath. Is very capable. Mm-hmm. Supers is how much bullshit they're going to let that final get started with. That probably took the record as the craziest start ever. Mm-hmm. So, but you're going to see the same culprits. I don't think there's anyone that could shake that class up.
I mean,
heavyweights stepping in. That's what we need is some good heavyweights. Fuck no. Where's Tom Nelson? I'm not jumping at 225. I'm going to jump in the super.
Yeah.
Easier to make the Final Four for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Jerry has been training really hard. He looks a lot more powerful than he was last year. Dave Chafee looks incredible, and Travis has looked pretty good. I mean, they all look amazing. But I think you're right. It's the same three people.
I don't think you're going to see Michael Todd in the final.
Yeah, it's tough for Mike. I mean, Mike has said
tough
20
technique.
times. Yeah,
but I don't even think he'll show. I mean, I think his spirit looked a little broken, and I think he's sticking to his guns. That I think he'd rather do the super match thing instead of rolling the dice on the tournaments. I don't see that being too much of a factor. Nick Zena was in Philly, so if he could show up healthy, he could shake things up. I mean, that was his first tournament back. But, I mean, you're going to see it's going to be a Travis and Dave Chafee show. Everyone's going to be watching them boil down, and then what can they get away with? You know, what can they play? You know?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, there's a lot of people saying different names of guys that they would like to see do well, but I mean, the power level up at the top of the top 4 guys is really.
Sometimes you just got to understand that there are people that are just flat out stronger and better. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing that people talk irrational. They say like, "Oh, well, my training partner has been really putting in time." It's like, who the fuck is your training partner? Like, no, they're not going to be. They're not going to be in the conversation when we're talking about Travis and Dave Chafee. They're not going to be in the conversation when we're talking about Justin Bishop and Giannis. Like, fuck your training partner. Be real. You know, have an ounce of reality. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's going to be the same culprits as last year. Same guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm still very excited about it. We've talked about this every week, basically, Rob, which is that one of the reasons John is not keen on competing with WAL is the looseness of the rules, and you just brought it up again. I feel like it's a huge problem, especially in the finals. They're going to be live. The reffing has got to be tight, and I don't know how they're going to achieve that when people are used to being able to, start before they go and carve in and get their position and jump up and cap super high before they even say go and having it not be called as a foul.
I think the preliminaries, they're going to have to slay the fuck out of people with fouling and even fouling them out of the tournaments and let it burn and be an example for everyone else coming up behind them. Because just like how many dudes went to WAF, I remember one year we had a big team of people come from the States. You know, Corey Miller, a lot of good guys went over to WAF, and like they all fouled out.
Right.
Like they didn't even get a match under their belt.
Mm-hmm. And
like that stings, but it sets a tone like we're not fucking around. And the preliminaries, I don't think are going to be on TV. I really think you're going to see like the Final 4 in each class.
Right.
So what they need to do is lay it down. These dudes who can't grip, these dudes who can't understand that, like this is close your hand, not this is close your hand. Fuck off. Foul. You don't like it? It's up to you. Like, I am not making you do that with your body. Learn how to get a grip. Let's move this shit along. Be fair. But the dudes who can't, they got to lay up the fouls. That way it sets a tone that, people know by the middle of the tournament, it's a smarter group than meets the eye. They'll all adapt really, really quick, surprisingly. And I think you could get a clean start if people run the risk of fouling out of the final.
Yeah, I think that tone should have been set all year. But
for sure.
I do agree with you. It does obviously it needs to be better.
I still don't know what the rules are going into finals. I'm 3 weeks out. I don't know if that slip rule's in effect. I don't know if it's the strap every match once there's a strap is in effect. I have no idea. I don't even know if we're using the same table. The pads might be different.
Yeah, I mean,
like I'm at a point where I don't necessarily like and agree with it, but it's so like undone for me that I just have to like it's like when you eat jail food. It's like I don't like this shit, but it's better than being hungry. Like I'm not gonna not eat either. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like there's a lot about it I don't like, but if I want to eat, I gotta suck it up.
Well, especially like if you. Like we talked about when I visited last time, that you really have some unfinished business. That's what you feel like. So,
yeah, like I said, I could gain 50 pounds and win the super heavyweights, and I'd be kind of like, yay! I'd have like an emptiness there. I feel like I ducked.
Yeah, right.
I feel like I ducked out.
What about Todd?
I can't do that. I'd rather you take second the next 10 years than move up a class and win and like cheapen myself. Yeah, because I feel like I ducked. I would feel like I ducked.
No, I totally understand that. I mean, it's. I agree with you. I think that regardless of the validity of it or how much it makes sense in reality, people would constantly be on your case, for not beating him. I think I don't know, man. I think everybody wants to see that match. It's like Red Sox and the Yankees back when they were a big deal. It's like the matchup people want to see. Everybody's predicting it's going to come down to you two. Who knows if it will or not, but it's just something that we all want to see because it feels like unfinished business. You guys have been very close in terms of skill level and strength for a couple of years, and it's like we want to see what's going to happen.
The one thing I'm hoping and banking on is, I mean, he's been banging at this sport longer than me, and it's universally known that he's probably doesn't have many equals. I'd say probably him and Devin as far as training capacity. So I'm banking that I've seen the capped out version of him, the maxed version of him, that you can only get so good physiologically that your best bet is to try to just maintain that level. So I'm pretty sure through one of the finals I've seen the very best version of him, but I know that he's yet to pull the best version of me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the X factor for me. And where I'm not shitting my pants about the straps and I've gotten stronger in some areas, it's going to be like pulling a new guy now for him, So, this is where I stay. I mean, for now.
Well, it's your natural weight too. I mean, it's different. Some people, like, you could make an argument for Todd doing it because his natural weight is 225. So for him to stay there would make sense. But, for you to be 195 and go to 225, it doesn't even really make sense. I mean, I like the idea of what you said. You're not cutting. I mean, you're a natural right around 200-pound guy. You're going in there against people that routinely cut 20, 30 pounds and, you're right there with them. Whether you win or not, we have yet to find out. But I just like that because it gives the rest of us a little bit of hope.
When I hydrate, when I go back and hydrate, I wake up in the morning of like the last two tournaments. I wake up in the morning, I take a piss, I go weigh in, I do my thing, I rehydrate. The next day I pull the tournament. I probably don't eat a shit ton because of my nerves. I have one big meal, but I don't really go through a big diet or big weight cut or anything. I pull the tournaments and I'm still usually 195 or less. I'm well under 200. Everyone's got this idea that when I was pulling real strong and I was competitive in the heavyweight class and had some real good wins under my belt that I was like 220. And it's like, no, I was a 205 guy. When I pulled arm wars and stuff, I was 204. I'm always like 205's heavy for me.
Mm-hmm. You need to get some Lasix and sit in a sauna and make 65s.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, from what I hear, some of the 65 guys are heavier than me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Tim Lewis right now is heavier than me.
Tim Lewis, I haven't seen a lot of him lately. I wonder what he's up to.
I think he's more suited for bench press.
Yeah. Well, probably.
He was doing some big things in bench press, so it's good for him.
Oh, no, that wasn't me being a smart ass.
No.
I mean, pushing 500 pounds. I mean, not me.
I can curl 200 pounds.
with a number 3 fat grip.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I wasn't going to say it, but,
We knew, John. We knew.
I'll let you brag for me.
Yeah, well, that's our job. We brag for you. Do you have a prediction for John's super match, by the way, to make him even more uncomfortable with Ron Armini this weekend?
Oh, 100%. 3-0 sweep for John.
Oh, there we go.
I learned my lesson 2 times in a row of predictions that I finally said, it's like there's a person you remember and then there's what becomes. And, I remember John when he first started going to Granite State Arms.
Oh, boy.
And I remember when he was new. So, like, when you talk to somebody, like, that's kind of like the first lasting impression. But then through watching him pull through the years and training with him, it's clearly a very different person. And I've talked to him about going to WAL, and I think he's at a level that would be very, very, very competitive in that class. And by competitive, I mean could make a solid run at it. So until he loses, I've been like, it's kind of like I've seen the light. It's going to be hard to bet against him because of his smarts, his ability in the straps, and just his overall game. It's going to be hard to bet against him at this point. I did it twice. And I had it shoved up my ass, so I'm going to go with John now.
I'll tell you what, when you voted against me with Gavi, I was like, you motherfucker, against the American?
You know what? Like one thing is that's one thing I've always appreciated about Travis, because he'll tell you if you look like shit to your face.
Right.
If you're pulling like shit, if you're a little self conscious because your 6-pack turned into a little tummy, he'll be like, what the fuck happened to you? You got fat. So it's like a compliment from that guy is genuine, because he's not afraid to tell you suck. And I mean, I don't blow people's heads up for no reason. And you asked me an honest prediction, and I honestly thought that you were going to lose that match. And then when you didn't, and then you beat Oren and some of your other matches, I said, oh, okay, I give the fucking guy's real. And it, on a level of analyzing playing, yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna have I don't see where he can beat you.
Look at that. See, now we're making John really uncomfortable.
Yes, but I remember also, or after that very first match with Oren, I walked across the other side of the table and you were on the other side and you went, respect, man. And I'm like, all right, cool. All right.
Yeah, I mean, because really you can't modify someone's game plan in the middle of a match. So I knew it was going to be a replay of the same 3 matches, and I knew it was, you were way too comfortable, and I could see it. So, and I mean, he's a strong kid. Oh. He's a very, very strong individual.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, in totally honest in reality of me and Oren, if I couldn't have gotten in if I couldn't gotten hand control, and really by hand control I mean pass straight, if he would have kept his wrist straight, he would have beat me 3 times in a row. Mm-hmm. His power level is insane. It's just as soon as it went click and click, that was it. If he could have kept his wrist straight, that's all it would have taken to beat me. Because he is, I mean, we all know how strong Oren is.
Yeah. No, he's definitely a sleeping giant.
Well, if you're in the Northeast, Oren is like, that's the hardest thing to get him to go somewhere else and pull. It's frustrating, man. I was just talking to him tonight about pulling in Maine. He's like, I don't know.
Well, it's tough right now because the big thing's going on. Lump him right in the middle of a funky weight class because he's not quite where he can compete at the class in the level that's WAL right now in the 95s. But like, if there was a way, like if there was a 75 class, now you're talking like big trouble, but 65 I think is out of reach. So he's kind of feeling the crunch of being in a really, like being a natural like 180 guy. Right. Like he's in he's a little bit one of those cases where the weight matters a little bit because builds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in my opinion, when he showed up at 176 to New England, he looked fantastic to me.
I think so too.
Just seeing him the night before and everything in weigh-ins and all that kind of stuff. To me, he looked. And I told him too. I'm like, dude, you look super healthy. You just look.
Well, that's the thing.
His
he crushed everybody right.
His crushed everybody. And Dan Hall is doing very good. Mm-hmm. Like I really have wanted to see a match. I've really wanted to see that it's never come to has been him and Philip Fritz.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to see that match. They were in the same place at the same time in Maine, and Oren didn't pull. So they haven't really bumped heads, but he's very capable. Hope he comes back. He was a great training partner, so guess we'll play it as it comes, right? A lot of people need time off it, and they come back even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right, John. I think that, Oren, I think maybe it messed up his psyche a little bit because even though he smashed everybody, he didn't really even have a match right-handed at New England's, and it was a seriously tough class. And lefty, he didn't compete. He had the super match with you, which he did not win. I think that kind of messed with his psyche a little bit. He doesn't give himself enough credit for the incredible power he has right-handed.
Well, the thing is too, like, and let's be super honest. Like, I won the match. It was a 6-minute total of pulling in 4 minutes and 4 pulls. It wasn't like it was. I crushed him. It was a damn good match.
Like this. I never like to think I lost to a shit bum. If I take a loss, I like to elevate the guy who beat me.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't bring me down. I'd be like, well, that guy's the best in the world.
Exactly.
People go like, oh, that guy's weak. I lost him. No, he's
Superman's little brother.
People lose to a bum.
Yeah, but I mean, and Oren's trained with you for a long time, so his technique knowledge is really good too. So hopefully he'll come back. I know he's kicking ass on the bass right now, but
yeah, he's a talented musician. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll see him around.
Yeah. So let's see what else we got here. I want to make sure I got all these questions in here, Rob. I mean, there's a lot of training questions. But you sort of answered most of these in the first interview, so you guys should go back and listen to that. But here's one that's a little bit interesting. I know you kind of talked about it, but do you train like specific angles differently now in terms of aiming for specific people at WL? Like, have you added things in just for certain people?
Yeah, 100%. Because I know I've played such like a possum for the years that like where I knew I had a hook, I knew I had a top, but I'd kind of let the person like grab me and dictate how the match would go for so long. And I feel that my hand is big enough, and right now it's certainly strong enough. If it was strong before, it's a lot stronger now. And I feel that I'm a fool to not try to dictate. Like I watch guys that really could push a match to wherever they want to that I don't feel have the same tools as me. So I feel that's a testament to maybe me dropping the ball. So I've really, the last couple of months, like making that mind muscle connection of like the starting angle. And it's something that Engin Terzi used to preach about years back. Big fan of Engin Terzi. And he said the most important strength and angle on the table is the starting angle.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you start here and you're all wonky that you walk out over here, that does you no good. You're giving somebody a lot of running room. If you have to be, like this to catch. So I want to be very confident and controlled with the things that are going to win me matches. If that means, from a rotation, if I do get in a hook, if that means from crunching somebody down, if they try to back away from me. I encounter a bunch of scenarios, but it's kind of what I did with Oren when I got him. I said, I'm going to take like 3 angles on you and just make them really strong. And he went from being like a fourth place guy to a dominating guy. And I'm kind of using that theory myself. I'm just taking like Rustam. Rustam's probably got a crazy hand, crazy wrist, crazy drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's everyone else's problem that they can't get around that or away from it. So I'm kind of taking that same theory. I'm trying to just take things, make them astronomically strong in an arm wrestling angle and way, and then push them on people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I am of more arm wrestling mentality now as opposed to like be fit, be strong in general, and then show up and arm wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm treating myself like an arm wrestler as opposed to a weightlifter.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I do take specific angles. And the most conducive angle to me would probably be a very controlled, full hand, roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when you talk about things like starting angles are very interesting because I think people get the wrong idea when it comes to like things like rotational strength and that kind of thing, where people think that rotational strength is how much you can rotate, like how much you can physically move in rotation. And that's really not the best way to think about things. The best way to think about things is if I'm on the start and I have not turned under, so I'm neutral, my opponent can't curl me. So they can't turn me under. I can't necessarily rotate a bunch of weight, but you can't make me see my palm. So it's really not about moving weight as much as it's about stopping somebody from doing
resistance.
Yeah, it's like people get rotation. They want to go outside with a hammer and then go like this all day. And I'm like, You don't ever grab somebody's hand and go like this.
Yeah.
I roll like, if you see the way, we'll say like John Brzezinski rolls, like you roll, like you kind of like unhinge like your forearm and it comes from like down here and in through your thumb pad.
Right.
So that's a lot. That's a forearm motion. Your hand just kind of like hinges in place.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the rotation can keep you from getting turned under and keeping somebody flat. So, I mean, I train more of those scenarios. Like, okay, if I can keep somebody flat, I can take control and do ABC. So I absolutely look at scenarios and I probably make a target out of like the 2 biggest threats I see in varying styles. So we'll say a guy who's got a tall arm that wants to jack away and back away like a Nanostad. I'll counter him, and then everyone that jacks away and is less over than him is going to fall into his category. And the guys who kind of want to be push and be aggressive, which there's only one of them, like Todd. And those are the guys I, obsess about and figure out what's going to be most conducive to me. Just get strong. Get strong.
I love it, man. I mean, I just love the way you're saying you're training. I love the fact that you have a dedicated space now and you have more time. I mean, it's getting me kind of excited to see that we're going to have a version of
considering
Rob.
that, less than a year ago, I was like checked out of the game and gonna quit. So it's been a good turnaround.
It is, and it's it's cool because like the UFC fighters, they do basically a 6, maybe 8 week training program before their fights, and we are used to training all year. And I mean, I like the idea of what you're saying, that you've got a few months together of really solid training, because I feel like that's going to have a bigger impact than maintaining something straight through the year would. I mean, it seems like a more professional approach to it. And so, I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
I feel like that's what it is, like a contest, like a tournament season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think if you're a fairly capable puller, you stay in fairly decent shape, you don't fall off the wagon and start smoking crack and then eating burgers all day. But, like, if you're fairly, like, walking a normal life, that if you've got a big tournament come up and you get 3 months to prep, you should be able to be in top shape in 3 months. I always said if I had like 6 months, I could get in a really good level. I feel like I've probably had about, 5 good months. I don't feel like, you always feel like you want more, but at this point in time, with the time I've been allotted, I feel like I've gotten where I wanted. I don't need 10 years. I don't need a couple months was good. Was very conducive.
Well,
that's
show
awesome,
up
man.
strong, show up healthy, and arm wrestle.
That's it.
Things usually work out when you do that.
A little congratulations show afterwards, hopefully. So I'm excited about it, man. It's gonna be fun to watch.
Man, I hope so. You had no idea. It'll be like
a lot of people
winning that tournament. That'll be a 3-year haunt for me. That'll be that tournament's not going to represent that tournament. It's going to be perseverance, because my frustrations and my crusades and my beliefs and everything got rocked all at this tournament all in the same time. I've picked up injuries. I've had setbacks. Just the hurdles alone. That hammer would be the epitome of perseverance. Yeah. So it's a big one. This year's all or nothing. I'm pushing the chips in, I guess.
Yeah, man. Give it a run. Samurai attitude. I love it.
Yeah, you got to go for it, right?
Yeah, right. Man. Dude, this has been great. I had a lot of fun talking to you as always. John's right. You're one of the best guests, just because we can sit back and let you take the wheel, man. So it's always a great time. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us.
Much appreciated, guys. I mean, at this point in time, a couple weeks out, I mean, I got to talk to somebody about arm wrestling who likes it, like, because my poor wife is like, really?
Would you shut up, Robbie?
Yeah. She'll be like, look at this video. Look at this motherfucker. She'll be like, go away. So, it's great. I love being on anytime, guys.
Yeah, cool, you got a whole bunch of people saying good luck, and they're pulling for you. You got a lot of people in your corner, man, so go get it.
Much appreciated.
All right. Good night.
Later.
Peace.